I always have a million questions, and even though I've been doing this and learning and having these aortic ed sessions for, I think, 6 years now, I always learn something new. I think for me, with hearing the survivors telling their stories, I mean, Philip's story could have been Pete's story, except Pete ended up with a bonus surgery, I call it, where he had left bundle branch block and got the bonus pacemaker that now lives, and as a drummer, we always joke that it makes for infinite drummer jokes when you've got a mechanical clicking heart valve and a pacemaker keeping the time. But my question kind of comes to the left bundle branch block that Pete was diagnosed. When he was in the hospital, I heard the doctors talk about it right after the surgery, that there was something going on, that it was scar tissue, it might, resolve and it might not. But they were going to do the pacemaker if it didn't get better. Fast forward a couple years, I know we don't have an electrophysiologist here, but is that changing? He got the pacemaker because he was once told, he goes, if we were to see that today, we probably wouldn't have given you the pacemaker. So I don't know if that has changed, if you have any insight into the bonus surgery, because as much as Pete's doctors told him that it was extremely rare to end up with that, I've lost count of how many people who've had the bicuspid valve and the aneurysm valve and aneurysm surgery who did end up with a pacemaker.
So just to understand the question, so the patient that you were talking about wound up with the bonus surgery, the pacemaker, because of the left bundle branch block. And you're wondering how common that is nowadays, or if we knew what we knew, that maybe he didn't need it at that time. Is that right? Right. So I find it really interesting regarding the whole left bundle branch block situation story. And obviously, when faced with questions like these, I always kind of start by saying that, well, I wasn't there and I did not see what they saw on the screen. So, obviously there's something that could be lost in translation about how you recall the events and all of that, because we sometimes need to understand we weren't there in the position of the clinicians who were seeing him at that time. But going back to the whole bicuspid aortic valve, and then they got the aortic valve replaced and they did a bundle branch block. The conduction system of the heart actually goes very close to the aortic annulus where the valve sits. And so there is a right and a left bundle. The right bundle is a fairly small and fragile structure. And the left is a more robust structure, which is divided into the left anterior fascicle and the left posterior fascicle. So basically, the right is kind of small-ish and kind of fragile, and the left is kind of more robust and beefy, and there's like two of them. And so it's not uncommon to find a patient with the right bundle branch block, and we just basically tell them that it's just almost like a normal variant nowadays, because it commonly happens to a lot of patients. And basically, the bundle branch block pattern itself happens because one conduction system is faster than the other. So if the right is slower, then you will have a right bundle branch block, but that does not mean that there's no conduction there. It's just that the left is faster. So it looks like the right has a bundle branch, or the right is slower. And the opposite is true if it's a left bundle. But because the left bundle is more robust and thicker, typically when there is a left bundle, it usually means something is going on. Whether or not that's organic disease, or you had an infection at some point, or in this case, you had a valve that was put in, and if that valve is impinging more on the left bundle, it can create that left bundle. And typically, a left bundle branch in and by itself should not lead you to get a pacemaker. A bundle branch block, whether it's right or left bundle, it would not lead to a pacemaker. So I suspect that when they did the valve and he developed a new left bundle branch block, they were probably seeing some additional findings, whether or not they saw some dropped beats because of that, or a second-degree heart block because of that. I don't think that they would have tried to put in prophylactically a pacemaker, just because you have a left bundle, thinking that, well, the right bundle could also fail. But because even if both bundles were to get injured, that does not mean that you're going to need a pacemaker. It could just mean you get a prolonged PR conduction or a first-degree AV block, basically. So perhaps they saw the development of a left bundle, and then at the same time, they saw some phenotypic manifestation of that, whether it's drop beats or bradycardia or multiple P waves that were not conducted, which made them think that you might need a pacemaker, particularly because getting heart valves placed, particularly in the aortic valve, can predispose you to have conduction problems. And that's common whether it's surgery or a transcatheter valve. Yeah, currently for transcatheter valve, about 5% of patients will wind up with a pacemaker because they would get heart block.
Thank you for being a part of the Rock from the Heart community and for joining us today. Your presence and engagement make a huge difference in raising awareness and building a stronger support network for those affected by aortic and heart valve disease. Thank you so much for attending today.